I'm Matt McClure.
And I'm Francesca Maxime, and this is Currents.
From the Philippines to Queens, celebrating a saint of the Pacific.
He gave up his life for his faith, and for us Filipino, it is very important.
Plus, lights, camera, and faith. The curtain's going up on this year's Faith Film Festival.
It's going to be as big as the Tribeca Film Festival,
Okay.
and we're actually sold out.
I heard.
And faith in front of the footlights as actors gather for a blessing for Broadway.
Sometimes I wish I were an angel. Sometimes.
Well, good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. It's 1 week into the 40 Days for Life campaign, and tomorrow is the kickoff for Respect Life Month. And life issues are making headlines around the world.
They are. In the Philippines, the country's Catholic president has been threatened with excommunication if he goes ahead with his plan to make birth control widely available. But the president is not changing his position, saying the government should provide contraceptives for those who ask.
And this debate comes while Filipino Catholics are marking an important feast day, the feast of St. Lorenzo Ruiz, the first saint from the Philippines. And for many here in New York, it's a celebration of their heritage and of a holy life. And on Tuesday, that fervor was on display at St. Sebastian's in Queens.
St. Lorenzo Ruiz serves as an example. His faith has inspired so many of us, especially during these times when we very easily give into temptation. He is the first Filipino saint. And we are very proud that we have a representative in heaven now.
St. Lorenzo Ruiz died 373 years ago, way back in the year 1637. He escaped from the Philippines because of circumstances beyond his control. He went to Japan, and there he was martyred. He was subject to torture of the most cruel kind for over a year. Deny your faith and we'll spare your life. And he said, no, I will never renounce my faith. I am a Catholic and I am happy to die for God. If I have 1,000 lives to give, I will offer them to God.
He gave up his life for his faith, and for us Filipino who are very Catholic and we hold our faith very highly, it is very important. Our country is a third world country, and when times are hard, your faith is the one that pulls you through. It's always there for us. Whatever happens, our faith keeps us strong.
We were brought up to pray by our parents as they were brought up by their parents. And probably older generations would have the same attitude, blind faith towards God.
San Lorenzo Ruiz died as a martyr in Japan, in a foreign land. And he gave witness to his faith in a foreign land. So we have now Filipinos all over the world who have gone out of the country for different reasons. And they have this opportunity also to give witness to their faith wherever they are.
In the Diocese of Brooklyn, they're a growing community, and they're a community that's completely devoted to their Catholic faith. And so as a result of that, their presence in the diocese is a tremendous blessing, as is their presence here in the parish a tremendous blessing as well.
We are hoping that we would be able to continue to spread our faith, because this is the gift that we can give to people. Wherever we go, we bring our faith with us, and we try to encourage people to be steadfast, to be faithful to God, like San Lorenzo was.
Quite an example. Well, stay tuned. There's much more current straight ahead.
When we come back, we'll have the day's headlines, including ahead of a sex abuse investigation, Irish archbishops get called to Rome.
Welcome back to Currents. I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure. Coming up in just a bit, I'll take you to a celebration of the arts at a church in Manhattan's Theater District.
But first, let's have a look at the day's headlines. Archbishops from Ireland will travel to the Vatican in early October to meet with church leaders about the clergy sex abuse investigation in their country. Pope Benedict said he ordered an apostolic visitation to Ireland to help bishops address the scandal, assist victims, and prevent further abuse. A spokesman for the Irish Church told Catholic News Service the 4 archbishops will meet with Vatican officials in the coming days for a preparation and planning meeting. The men are not expected to meet with the Pope. Meantime, back in this country, a 4th man who accused Atlanta pastor Eddie Long of coercing him into sex says he feels free since filing a lawsuit. Spencer LeGrand spoke to the media for the first time Wednesday. Reporter Jody Fleischer spoke with him at his home in North Carolina.
There's only one way to God, and that's the truth.
Spencer LeGrand was just 15 years old when his family joined the New Birth Church of Charlotte. According to his lawsuit, he was moved to tears when he heard Bishop Eddie Long speak. He went to meet him. The bishop hugged him, and that was the beginning of their father-son relationship.
I pray for him too. I really do.
He won't talk about the bishop now or details of the intimate moments they shared, which are spelled out in his lawsuit. It describes trips to Africa and intimate sexual contact in several locations around Atlanta, including the bishop's private office.
Once God's time is ready for it to expose everything, it's going to happen. And I just pray, I just want people to know that to keep praying for our strength and for us getting through this.
LeGrand moved back to Charlotte late last year and confided in his family, an ex-girlfriend, and a few friends, including a police officer. He says he did not know about the claims from Maurice Robinson, Anthony Flagg, and Jamal Paris until he heard them on the news. He decided it was his time to speak out, too.
I wasn't free till I came out with it. That's when my life's been much better. This last week has been free.
He didn't want to comment on the bishop's statements to his New Birth congregation. LeGrand says he is now at peace and he's gaining strength from his faith and releasing his truth.
This is a hard time for the world, and I have no hate for anyone because that's not, God doesn't produce hate. And I just, I pray for everyone, especially Bishop, because he knows the truth. He knows the truth.
And Long has denied all of the allegations against him. Well, tomorrow marks the beginning of Respect Life Month, and the head of the U.S. Bishops' Committee on Pro-Life Activities is calling on Catholics to demonstrate their commitment to life. Cardinal Daniel DiNardo says believers should display a loving concern for the good of others and make sure health care reform does not promote abortion when it is implemented. In a statement this week, Cardinal DiNardo also called on American Catholics to join with Pope Benedict for a worldwide vigil for life on November 27th. Interfaith leaders met Wednesday with Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and other administration officials to voice support for the Mideast peace process. Several Christian, Jewish, and Muslim leaders attended the meeting to push for talks between Israel and the Palestinian Authority to continue. Among them, Albany Bishop Howard Hubbard, who's led the U.S. Bishops' Committee on International Justice and Peace, and retired Washington Archbishop Cardinal Theodore McCarrick. After the meeting, the bishop said, quote, "One of the biggest obstacles to peace in the Middle East is cynicism." They also called on people of faith to remember that all things are possible with God.
A court in India ruled today that a disputed holy site must be divided between Muslims and Hindus. Disagreement over this land has led to bloody brawls in the past, but Indian authorities deployed nearly 200,000 troops today to keep the peace. CNN's Sarah Snyder has the latest from New Delhi.
Nearly 20 years ago, the dispute over this site and subsequent breaking of the Barbary Mosque led to riots and the deaths of thousands of people. Now, the result of this verdict, we have not even seen protests, let alone violence. And analysts say this is an example of how India has matured over the years. Now, let me explain exactly what this 3-judge panel said in the High Court. They answered the question as to who actually owns this land. And what they determined is neither of the parties was able to give enough evidence to show that they owned it. So they decided to divide the land up into 3 different portions. each party getting a portion, which includes Muslims will get a portion, and then a portion will go to Hindus, and another Hindu sect will get a portion. So right now, that's what the courts are saying in this case. They also answered a potentially explosive question about whether or not this land was the birthplace of one of the most revered Hindu deities, Lord Ram. The answer, yes, the court said, and they allowed the idols that were placed underneath the mosque to remain there. And so at this time, that will remain the same. Now, what the court has said is that it will go ahead and allow this area to remain the way it is, status quo, for the next 3 months, while the details of who gets what and how much are worked out. But this may not be the end of the case, because already we're hearing at least one group may appeal it to the Supreme Court.
That report from CNN's Sarah Sidner. In Hong Kong, Catholics say the government there denied their request to hold an outdoor prayer service over political concerns. Church officials say the purpose of the service would be to show solidarity with Catholics on the mainland of China who are forced to worship in underground churches. The Diocese of Hong Kong says they were denied use of a public park for the event because they were told it was too politically sensitive. Now, Hong Kong's government says that's not the case, though, and that it turned down the request because the park was too small to hold the estimated crowd of 200 people. Well, Pope Benedict's summer vacation is officially over. The pontiff left Castel Gandolfo today, as we hear from Rome Reports.
The Pope couldn't leave Castel Gandolfo without saying goodbye and acknowledging the work of the palace employees where he spent the summer months. A few hours before returning to Rome, Benedict XVI met with them and their families. They included cooks, gardeners and cleaners.
Grazie a tutti perché anche questa estate mi avete accompagnato con la preghiera e con il vostro diuturno lavoro. Mi siete stati sempre vicini e di questo vi sono riconoscente.
Benedict XVI greeted each of them. He met the first child of one of the workers and joked with one of the employees. The Pope said goodbye until next year, recognizing the efforts and work which made his stay as comfortable as possible.
And finally, today is the 80th anniversary of the St. Francis bread line in Manhattan. In honor of the occasion, Mayor Michael Bloomberg declared today St. Francis Bread Line Day in the city. The bread line operates 7 days a week out of St. Francis of Assisi Church on West 31st Street, and it feeds more than 300 people each day. The church says the food ministry is the oldest continuously running bread line in the country. St. Francis will be holding a celebration in honor of the 80th anniversary on Saturday, and we'll have complete coverage of that event coming up on Monday's edition of Currents.
But stay tuned, there's much more of today's show straight ahead. Coming up, break out the popcorn. We have your ticket to the Faith Film Festival.
Everything's open, the submissions keep coming in. So
Great,
this is time to submit.
Welcome back. Well, it's been a big hit here on the net, and it's about to come to a movie theater near you. It's the Faith Film Festival, spotlighting original movies that have a decidedly spiritual spin.
Indeed. Tomorrow night, some of the movies will be screened at a theater in Tribeca, home, of course, to another well-known film festival, one I also attended this year. For a preview, our Natalia Ortiz sat down to chat with the show's host, Lorena Jorge.
Lorena Jorge, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me again.
Well, you look very excited, and I think I know why.
Yes.
It's the second season of the Faith Film Festival, but it is the first time there will be an actual screening of the final films at a theater. It's in Tribeca. Tell me a little bit about that.
In the Greenwich actual area that Tribeca Film Festival holds their own. So it's going to be as big as a Tribeca Film Festival. Okay. And we're actually sold out.
I heard.
It's exciting.
So this is huge then.
The hugest thing that we're going to have going on right now.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the films. I know that there will be 6 films being screened that day. Which one of the films, and even if it's not one of those 6, like in this whole process, which one stood out in your mind?
Well, I loved a lot of them, even the ones that are actually up in the running for the Golden Lighthouse Award, which is our main award chosen. I love the When the Streets Become Home, that was one of the actual films. It didn't quite make it to the top 6, but is one of my favorites. It really touched my heart. It basically was about these 3 kids in third world countries that the streets literally become their home, and they feel like they have a better life in the street and a better chance at life without being home because of beaten and poverty. And so it's a documentary. It has a lot of volunteers helping out the children, describing the life and how difficult it is to survive. And it's also just heart-warming and heart-melting to see how people take the time out of their day to sort of help another person in need.
And so I guess for future entries, what should people keep in mind? I know that, this is our 2nd year, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be our last, right?
Definitely not, because we're just keep growing. Well, we got about over 100 films submitted this year, which was unbelievable. It was double the actual amount that we got last year. So this submission, the next year's submission, I do say keep in mind sort of something that's changing, that's worldly, that people don't get to see, like the one that was my favorite, When the Streets Become Home, and as well as a message that more or less people don't get to talk about or touch upon. So that's one of the greatest things.
So entries are now being accepted for next year. So this is a good time to maybe get the ball rolling with that, right?
Already in September. Everything's open. The submissions keep coming in.
Great.
This is time to submit.
Awesome. And so Faith Film Festival will be airing again every Friday, 8 p.m., correct?
Correct.
For everyone. And I'm sure people will be able to catch some web exclusives, I hope, right, of the actual event on Friday?
And we actually do have a web exclusive winner at our screening. So just because you're not in the actual submission or get to be aired doesn't mean you're not going to be a winner yourself. So you definitely get to be in the running as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lorena Jorge, for being with us once again.
Thank you for having me.
Looked like that was a powerful film there.
Yeah, definitely. A very touching story. But and as they tend to be at these festivals, of course, as you know, you mentioned you went to Tribeca, and you see a lot of these independent films, a lot of them documentaries, and of that style, and they really delve into topics, as she said, which people don't normally get to talk about. So you're seeing something that you might not normally see on a daily basis when you see movies at a festival like this, and of course this one with all the movies having a twinge of faith.
Right, absolutely. And one of the things that Lorena was mentioning in there is how do we decide, we at the Net, decide which movies actually get placed in the festival? And, really it has to be a unique story, one that has something compelling to say, one that may show a concern for others. Those are really important guidelines for filmmakers to know about, because there are a ton of filmmakers here in New York that are always looking for places to showcase their work, and to know that they can do it here on the Net through the Faith Film Festival is really terrific now in our 2nd year.
Absolutely, and you can actually find out more about the Faith Film Festival and how you can be a part of it if you go to the festival's website at netny.net/faithfilmfestival.
Stay with us when we come back. Another story about the arts where faith takes center stage.
Just ahead, a Broadway production where the leading role belongs to God.
We want the writers, we want the people who paint the scenery, we want the stage hands, all to be blessed and included.
Well, we just got a little taste of Tinseltown coming to Tribeca, I should say, with the Faith Film Festival. And this time of year, Broadway is also counting its blessings.
Indeed. Earlier this week, I dropped by the famous Actors Chapel at St. Malachy's Church in Manhattan to see and experience what's become an annual tradition, the blessing of artists. In the heart of Manhattan's theater district, artists, along with their friends and family, came together at the one-time church home of such big names as Bob Hope, Perry Como, and Elaine Stritch. It was the annual blessing of artists at St. Malachy's, the Actors Chapel.
Even though it is very much a Catholic service or Catholic influence service, it is to everybody of all faiths. And we're blessed tonight, of course, to have my cohort in crime in service to the acting community, Rabbi Jill of the Actors Temple. And that's why it's such an important thing, because it really is our spiritual witness to our desire to serve the whole acting community.
If we are all one, then there is no us and no them. There is only us. Artists are already there, and we as clergy when we do something together, we send that message that we're there too. We live in this multicultural world. We can best serve you when we open our arms to embrace everyone. Then we can go forward in strength together.
Now, in his letter to artists, Pope John Paul II said, "None can sense more deeply than you artists, ingenious creators of beauty that you are, something of the pathos with which God at the dawn of creation looked upon the work of his hands." And it was with that sentiment in mind that people gathered here tonight at St. Malachy's, the Actors Chapel, for the 6th annual Blessing of the Artists. Yes, 6th time around. And even though St. Malachy's is known as the Actors Chapel and it's in the heart of the theater district, artists of all different types and all different faiths were remembered here tonight.
In a spirit of oneness, we don't leave anyone out. We want the writers, we want the people who paint the scenery, we want the stagehands, all to be blessed and included.
All forms of art were remembered, but singing and dancing took center stage, literally.
Sometimes I wish I were an angel. Sometimes
Matthew Gumley is a Broadway star. At the age of 13, he's been on The Great White Way, in Beauty and the Beast, Mary Poppins, and The Addams Family, just to name a few.
This service tonight is just reminding us of how important we must be and how special we must be to have God actually pick and say, I want this person to be special. I want this person to have this and this. I just think that I'm so blessed, and I thank God every day for everything that He's given me throughout the years.
The message of the evening was clear. Art, in all its forms, plays an important role in our lives. But in such a tough economy, many people with artistic talent may be doubting whether or not they could make a living doing what they love.
It's important to have a dream. It's important to pursue that dream, but also to take care of one's bodily needs.
The message we want to send out to them is that it's not just their fellow actor that understands, their church understands, their temple understands, and we're here to want to help them get through that.
If you like to do something and you think others will hold you back, they're wrong. They're so wrong. Don't worry about that. Do what you like to do. Express yourself.
Talk about wise beyond his years.
I was going to say, all 13 of them. He's spewing out all these great sayings, and he's only 13.
I know, you live and learn, and he's done so much in 13 years already. I mean, as I said, he was Chip in Beauty and the Beast. He was one of the children in Mary Poppins on Broadway. He just wrapped up a run in The Addams Family as Pugsley on Broadway, and he's going to be an elf on Broadway this coming winter. So it's like, man, how much have you done already? But someone who obviously is thankful to God for all that He's given him. And they were saying there as well that a lot of, as I brought up in the piece, a lot of artists might be discouraged by the economy and saying, well, I'm just going to take whatever comes my way, and people are cutting back on their bills, and they might not be going to the theater or going to see concerts or whatever as much as they used to be. So I don't know if it's going to pay my bills or not. So they might be discouraged by that. But he was saying, Matthew was saying there, and the pastor and the rabbi as well, don't let that discourage you. The church is here for you. Your temple is here for you. If you're Jewish, as Rabbi Jill said. And, just live out your dreams.
Yeah, well, certainly I think that it's very much a balance, but that the encouragement is there and that the blessing is there and that there is support there, especially in this blessing, that if you do want to pursue what it is that's your passion, if it's acting, if it's singing, if it's poetry, if it's painting, that you can do that and know that you are supported and that you really are honoring that gift that God has given you in order to express yourself in the best way that you can, and only you can.
And some people, a lot of people think of it as a calling, so answer that call. Well, that is it for tonight. Now, coming up tomorrow, another story about art and faith. We'll talk to the people putting on a theatrical production inside a Brooklyn Catholic church. And the church plays as big a role as the actors. We'll show you that.
In the meantime, remember, we are always online at currentsny.net, and you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well. If you have a story idea, feel free to drop us a line at currentsny.net, and that is our email address. Until next time, I'm Francesca Maxime.
And I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great night.